Hello, my name is Sophia Marie Di Giovanna, and in this presentation we will be looking at animal transportation by air and how it threatens the welfare of our pets. In this presentation we will cover the following topics. Firstly, we will briefly discuss the human-animal bond and then move on to look at the animal transportation industry, transporting pets by air, as well as the regulation in this area. Next, we will move on to look at some of the welfare issues that arise from transporting pets by air. Penultimately, we will cover recent changes, and finally, we will consider potential solutions to these welfare issues. All references and image credits can be found at the end of the presentation. The UK is often considered to be a nation of animal lovers. It is no surprise, therefore, that much of the UK population owns at least one pet. The most commonly owned animals are cats, followed by dogs and then rabbits. The People's Dispensary for Sick Animals publishes an annual PAW report, which provides accurate statistics on the UK pet population. In 2021, a significant phenomenon was observed when an increase in demand for first-time pets was felt after pandemic restrictions left many working from home and feeling the negative effects of social isolation. According to the PAW report, 47% of those 2 million people who acquired a pet between March 2020 and March 2021 said that they were first-time adult pet owners. Pets offer many benefits to humans. Alongside providing companionship, they have been shown to improve both the physical and mental health of owners. With an increase in interest in pet ownership since COVID-19, it is even more important to consider all aspects of their welfare, including how we transport them. Whilst cattle represent the largest share in the animal transportation market, pets also represent a significant driver of the growth of the animal transportation industry. In Europe, the animal transportation market was worth $408.46 million in 2019 and is projected to grow significantly over the coming years. Globalization is an overwhelming influence behind the growth of the air transportation of pets, with many people moving across the world for work or a better quality of life or simply to travel. Many do not want to leave their animal companions behind. In the US, most current statistics show that 53% of travelers take holidays with their pets. Furthermore, 27% of pet owners are planning 1 to 2 trips with their pets in the coming year. 37% are planning 3 to 5 getaways, and 31% intend to take 6 or more trips with their pets. Additionally, 78% of owners and pets are driving and flying together more than ever, with 37% of families traveling with their pets, a 19% increase over the last decade. When 37% of owners have opted against travel to stay at home with their dog, it is clear that making air transport accessible to pets and owners is economically beneficial for airlines. Therefore, companies stand to benefit from the strong human-animal bond between owners and pets, offering this service at a premium cost. British Airways charge upwards of £3,500 to transport a dog and £1,100 to transport a cat. There are many reasons why an owner might consider transporting their pet by air. Air transportation may simply offer consumers the most convenient way to transport their animals. From the statistics, it is clear that this practice is becoming ever more frequent. In the US, more than 2 million pets and other live animals are transported by air each year, and 6% of US pets board a plane every year. With 9 in 10 US households considering dogs to be a member of the family, it is understandable why owners are more frequently traveling with their pets. While according to Porter et al., there are no reliable publicly available data collected on a systematic basis for the commercial movement of dogs or cats, both for intra-EU and extra-EU trade, approximately 20,779 dogs and 2,287 cats were traded between EU member states in 2014, according to Tracy's. Hungary, Slovakia, and Spain were the most common origin countries, and the UK was one of the most common destination countries. Whereas, outside the EU, the most imported dogs came from the US, Australia, South Africa, Russia, and New Zealand, and the most imported cats came from the US and Australia, according to Tracy's data from 2014. Again, the UK was one of the most common recipient countries. Dogs are the most commonly travelled with pets, according to Condor Ferries, followed by cats and then household birds, although no publicly accessible data are provided by airlines for how many of these pets travel by air each year, as it is a largely unscrutinised area that is increasingly becoming a contemporary animal welfare issue. Every commercial airline that transports pets must follow the International Air Travel Association's Live Animals regulations, which are considered to be the global standard in transporting animals in a way that is intended to prioritize their safety and welfare. The International Air Travel Association provides regulations on the design, construction, and dimensions of travel containers, stocking density, ventilation, and access to food and water. The Air Carrier Access Act 1986 criminalizes discrimination based on disability in air travel, ensuring that any customer with disabilities can board their assistance dog in the cabin during a flight at no additional cost. Many other pets are usually transported in the hold of the aircraft, which is temperature regulated and pressurized. Of YouGov's 10 most popular airlines in the UK, only one commercial airline, KLM, allowed for a single small cat or dog to be boarded per customer in the cabin during flight. The most common welfare issue that arises from transporting pets by air is the impact of environmental stresses on the animal. Considering that previous research has shown that transport and handling are extremely stressful for agricultural animals, it is unsurprising that the limited research in this area reveals poor outcomes for the welfare of pets transported by air. The physiological effects of flying on an animal's body can leave the animal in a state of distress, whereby the immune system response becomes weakened, and animals become more prone to disease. Bergeron et al. Found that loading and unloading resulted in the largest increase in heart rate for dogs transported by air, which was in line with results found in similar studies on farm animals. The novice aspect of transport by air might be the strongest contributing factor to the animal's stress response. Unfamiliar surroundings, people, scents, loud noises, pressure and temperature changes can be overwhelming for the animal. This sometimes leads owners to perform preemptive sedation. Oversedation is the leading cause of animal deaths during air transportation, according to Tennyson, followed by environmental stress, then disease complications from coronavirus, parvovirus, and respiratory diseases that were not evident during pre-flight examinations, with a sudden debilitating onset under the acute stress of flying conditions at high altitude. The rarest cause of death to pets when flying was mishandling by carriers. For this reason, IATA's Live Animals regulations strongly advises against the sedation of animals before flying. While sedation is thought to have a calming effect on animals, Bergeron et al. Concluded that transportation is stressful for dogs, and sedation does not alter the stress response. In their study, sedated dogs' salivary cortisol concentrations were found to be significantly elevated after both ground and air transport, in line with results collected from dogs that were not sedated. Although there was no observed behavioral evidence of excitement, such as barking or scratching, in both sedated and unsedated dogs, the dogs remained inactive for 75% of the study. This may be linked to Bearder et al.'s conclusion that beagles often adopt a conservative withdrawal response to acute stresses, characterized by passive behaviors, meaning that other breeds might react more excitedly to flight stress. Bergeron et al.'s study used blood and saliva samples pre- and post-transport to measure cortisol levels. as well as heart rate monitors, sensors for measuring air temperature and humidity, HOBO air pressure sensors, battery-powered cameras, and an autonomous lighting system to record behavior during flight. Measurements were taken at 60-second intervals. While Berger on et al.'s study provides some groundbreaking research into the effects of stress on dogs during air transportation, it is important to recognize that laboratory-reared dogs were used, and that these dogs may react differently than pet dogs might during air transportation. Additionally, the dogs in Berger on et al.'s study were subjected to unforeseen delays due to poor weather, meaning that the sedatives were, in some dogs, administered up to 6 hours before flying, which may have biased the results collected. Unfortunately, this research area is extremely limited, and many similar studies that look at the effects of flying on dogs are inaccessible behind a paywall. However, research might imply that there are slight differences in the levels of stress caused to pets depending on the location in which they are kept within the aircraft. One study by Leiden and Mullins found that greyhounds transported in the belly hold of a jet freighter had a higher stress response than those transported in the main cargo hold, while another study by Venable et al. Found that working dogs transported in the cabin of the aircraft had altered gut microbiota and some blood metabolites, linked to a physiological stress response. However, no observable effect on working dog performance occurred. These conclusions might be used to support the notion that animals boarded in the cabin alongside their owner have a lesser stress response than animals boarded as cargo in the hold of the aircraft, especially those boarded in the belly hold. Further research is required in this area to form substantial conclusions, however. Other welfare issues arise from a history of poor animal handling before and during transport. The International Air Transport Association reports that over 5,000 animals are injured, killed, or lost on commercial flights each year. There is a lack of clarity as to how these animals come to be lost, but it is presumably linked to a lack of capability of providing adequate animal care. PETA, the largest animal rights organization in the world, strongly discourages the transportation of pets by air. PETA provides several case study examples of negligence in the animal air transportation industry, which often result in death for the pets involved. One dog, Enzo, died of heat stress after sitting in extreme heat in the cargo hold of an aeroplane that was delayed for hours on the runway. Another dog, Jed, died from suffocation as he was starved of oxygen in the hold of the plane. These examples, among many others, reveal instances of severe neglect and mistreatment of animals entrusted to these airlines, which is in clear violation of international animal welfare legislation. With the increase in popularity of flat-faced breeds such as the French Bulldog or Persian Cat, many commercial airlines have altered their animal transportation rules, sometimes banning brachycephalic cats and dog breeds outright or imposing strict restrictions. This ban has been introduced by many airlines in the interest of pet health, by avoiding the high risk of fatality that is posed to these animals in air transportation. Due to the conformation of these breeds, shortened airways result in difficulties breathing and regulating their body temperature. The U.S. Agricultural Department reported 189 animal deaths on commercial flights between June 2005 and June 2011. 98 of those animals were brachycephalic, over half. If these flat-faced breeds are allowed to fly, it is usually alongside strict measures, and often only in the cabin of the plane where they can be more closely monitored by their owners. There are also seasonal and weather-related bans for these breeds, preventing flat-faced dogs and cats from flying during extreme weather when they are more susceptible to respiratory problems. The high demand for the transportation of pets by air has even led to the development of pet transport technology such as the DigiPet system, which allows owners to track their animals' well-being while in the hold of the aeroplane during air transport. using a pet carrier fitted with specialized sensors. Whilst this could offer an improvement to current systems where owners do not know the well-being of their pet until the aircraft has landed, the only true solution to the welfare issues posed by the air transportation of pets is to avoid it unless it is necessary. Owners should, where possible, opt for a less stressful transport method when transporting their pets, such as accompanying their pet and making the journey by car, train, or boat. When flying is necessary, owners should seek out airlines that allow for pets to be boarded in the cabin rather than in the cargo hold. If this is not possible, then owners need to be fully informed of the health and welfare risks posed to their pet in air transportation, and should give full consideration before deciding to transport their pet by air.